Today I wanted to cover the 18 triadic melodies. Oftentimes when we study triads, we overlook the fact that there are 18 melodies for each triad type. By understanding this simple principle, we can expand our knowledge when we use triads, whether that be for triad pairs or for the underlying structure of melody. I'll go over the 18 melodies and then show you a simple way to practice it. First, we have our 6 root position melodies. In the key of C, using the C Major Triad, that looks like this. The melodies are as follows: 1, 3, 5, 1, 5, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 3, 1, 5, and 3, 5, 1. Keep in mind that we can apply this principle to spread or open position triads as well. For example, again using the C Major Triad, in spread position we have 1, 5, 3, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 5, 3, 5, 1, 5, 1, 3, and 5, 3, 1. For the rest of this lesson, I'll just cover the closed position triads, but keep in mind you can always apply this to spread position triads for 18 more melodies. By embellishing these triadic melodies, you can create strong melodic ideas. Let's look at the first inversion triadic melodies. First we have 3, 5, 1, and then 3, 1, 5, and then 1, 3, 5, and then 1, 5, 3, and then 5, 3, 1, and then 5, 1, 3. Lastly, we have our second inversion triadic melodies, starting with 5, 1, 3, 5, 3, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 1, 5, 1, 5, 3, and 1, 3, 5. So that's the 18 triadic melodies for any triad. We can do this with major, minor, diminished, and augmented triads. We can also apply this to any 3-note structure, even a cluster. We can put the cluster into its 3 inversions and come up with 18 melodies. We could also put those 18 melodies in spread or open position and get 18 more melodies. So this concept can take you far in helping you create interesting triadic melodies. The way I demonstrated the 18 melodies is exactly how I like to practice it. We think about it this way. In root position, starting on the lowest note gives us 2 melodies. Starting on the highest note also gives us 2 melodies. And then starting on the middle note gives us 2 more melodies. We can apply that basic understanding to the first inversion triad as well. The lowest note has 2 melodies. The highest note has 2 melodies. And the middle note has 2 melodies. In second version, same thing. We can start on the lowest note and we have 2 melodies. We can start on the top note or the highest note and play 2 melodies. And we can start on the middle note and we have 2 melodies. If we apply this simple understanding to triad pairs, we can come up with some pretty interesting shapes that are often overlooked. Here's a C major and F sharp major triad. That's an example of 2 major triads a tritone apart, but formulated melodically in a way that you may not have heard before or thought of. Here's another idea using the same 2 triads. Oftentimes when we use triad pairs, we use the most mundane melodies for each of the triads. For example, Basically, we're just going from the lowest note to the highest note for each of the triads in each of the inversions. Instead, we can take one of the different triadic melodies and put that through the inversions. Here's an example. So now we're starting on the middle note of the triad, going down and then up to the top note. This creates a slightly more interesting shape. A more interesting idea would be to alternate the shapes for each of the triads. For example, again, this gives us a much more interesting melody when we use the triad pair concept. Here's another idea. We can also embellish triadic melodies to create interesting thematic material. For example, if we pick a second inversion triad and we order the notes 5, 3, 1, and then we decide to embellish that with the 9, which is a D, we can put the D first, or we can take the triadic melody and put the D second. We could take the triadic melody and put the 9 third. Or we could take the triadic melody and put the D last. We could use the flat 9 instead and have 4 new melodies. Here's our basic triadic melody. If we put the flat 9 first, if we put it second, we take our triadic melody and we put the flat 9 second. If we put it third, or we could put the flat 9 last. So you can see the value of understanding triadic melodies. We have 18 triadic melodies. We can embellish those melodies with a variety of adjacent notes. Some of the notes I like to use for this embellishment are the 9, the flat 9, the sharp 9, the 11, the sharp 11, the flat 13, and the 13. One thing to note is that when we embellish a triad with the 7th, the flat 7, or the 13, or the flat 13, we end up getting a diatonic 7th chord in inversion. If we think of the 4-note structure that we've created, that is a triad with 1 note of embellishment, we have 96 different melodic ideas that can come from that 4-note cell in closed position. So 4 inversions and 24 melodies for each of those inversions. I did an earlier video on this topic which you can check out. Applying this same principle to minor triads is also interesting. Let's take a minor triad melody and we'll embellish that. Let's take a first inversion minor melody and embellish that. In first inversion, let's go 5, 3, 1. And let's embellish this with the 11, the natural 11. So if we put that note first, the melody would be. If we put it second, if we put it third, if we put it fourth, we could also change that to the sharp 11 and get 4 more interesting melodies. So again, this method is very fun. It allows you to explore and find your own interesting melodies. You can use this for both composition and deriving material for improvisation. I hope you found that helpful. This is Matt Otto. I'm a tenured professor at Kansas University. Please leave a comment if you found this interesting, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening.